We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, via YouTube streaming, and also via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming. Sutras of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. This is in response to a question. Why do I have so many sufferings and pain in life? Why do I have so many sufferings and pain in life? Remember one thing. If you have suffering and pain in life, certainly you must have done great effort for this. You would have done austerities, you would have done many things to attain to it. Sorrow and suffering can never be attained without efficiency. You must be very clever, efficient in earning this. No one attains to suffering and pain just like that. You have to pay a price for it. Without effort, one can never attain to suffering and pain in life. On the contrary, bliss, happiness is your nature. You attain to it at no cost. Sorrows and sufferings you have to earn. What is the first criteria for suffering and pain is we go on asking for more and more happiness in life. The more you ask for happiness and forget that happiness, bliss is your nature, then sorrow and suffering is the result. If you seek success, you are bound to fail. Whatever you ask for, you get the opposite in return. Whatsoever you want, the opposite will happen. Remember, this world does not move according to your wish, according to your desires. It runs only by the will of the existence, or what you call God. Replace your wish, replace your desire from that of the God. Even if the suffering and pain happens, you will not feel the extent of pain and suffering. One who has left everything in the hands of the ultimate, in the hands of existence, in the hands of God, even if one suffers and attains to pain, he will understand that certainly there must be a reason for it. In Sanskrit, there are two words, Ved and Vedana. Vedana means suffering and pain. And Ved comes from the root Vid, means to know, awareness, awakening. The moment awakening comes, this is the moment when awakening is coming. If you are suffering, if you are undergoing pain, there must be a reason for it. I recall very much, my father wanted me to study physics, chemistry and mathematics, the science subjects, because by studying the science subjects, two lines are open. Either you can go in the medical science, medical profession, or engineering. And or in the public servant, which is the highest status post in India. So he insisted that I study the science subjects, but my interest was not there. I failed in BSc. Second year again we tried. I failed again. Then third year I was going to opt for the other subjects, art subjects. But he said if you cannot study science, then there is no need. So third time again it failed. Then my uncle Sufi master wrote me a letter in which he wrote a couplet. शायद खिज़ा से हो कोई नई सूरत बहार की, शायद खिज़ा से हो कोई नई सूरत बहार की, कुछ मसलहत इसी में है मेरे परवरदिगार की. खिज़ा means autumn and bahar means spring. Shayad, his surat means the shape, the form. When autumn comes, the leaves fall from the tree becomes bare, no leaves, no fruits, no flowers. And during the entire winter season, the tree remains bare, covered with snow. Then season of spring comes. Slowly and slowly new foliage begins. And then the tree that was barren once begins to have the blossoming. शायद खिज़ा से हो नई सूरत, कोई नई सूरत बहार की. May spring, may autumn bring a new portrayal to the spring. Each time when autumn comes and after that followed by the spring, the tree gets a new form, new shape, new life. And whatever leaves fall, they decompose. And they provide the fertilizer, nourishment to the tree. कुछ मसलहत इसी में है मेरे परवरदिगार की. What is the wish, what is the will of the master in this, I know it not. This is the same thing. When this was a state of pain, suffering, 3 years I failed in BSc. You can go into depression. But the moment you realize that there is, what is the will of my masters in this, I know it not. Certainly his intentions would have been sublime. There must be a reason behind it. If there is a thorn pricks the feet, maybe it is to wake you up. So this suffering or pain is like a thorn pricking your feet, simply to wake you up from deep slumber. If if there are stones in your path, certainly he would have kept the stones along your path for you to use as stepping stones, as steps. If there is suffering and pain, certainly it is to awaken a deep desire in me. Certainly he would be making it alive, making it to burn the fire in me, one who has left everything in the hands of the divine, the ultimate. For him, even pain and suffering becomes the stepping stone. Remember this always. One who has left everything in the hands of the divine, in the hands of ultimate, in the hands of existence, even for him, pain and suffering becomes the stepping stone for happiness and bliss. One who has kept everything in his hands, for him even happiness becomes misery, suffering, pain. What you are considering as life is not really life. Instead, it is death coming to you in pieces. After birth, what have you done except dying bit by bit? Every day you are dying. You are moving towards the ultimate death. Who is responsible for it? The existence has given you life. It has given you a likeness. Death is your invention. Existence has given you bliss. Pain and suffering is your invention. Every child is born with the seed of bliss. There are very few or rare old persons who leave this world full of bliss, gratitude, full of bliss and gratitude. One who leaves this world full of gratitude and bliss, we call him awakened ones. We call such a person as Buddha. Everyone is born with the seed of bliss. We are born with eyes filled with wonder. Eyes filled with wonder. We are born with a heart filled with overflowing bliss. If you look deep into the eyes of a child, you will see the pure blissfulness. If you look at the face of the child, you will see the glow of bliss, happiness. Then what happens? What actually goes wrong? That who is born like a flower turns into thorns. Certainly, the entire conditioning, the entire teaching, the entire process is illusionary. Our way of life is wrong. The entire society is sick. We are being conditioned into wrong. We are conditioning in a wrong way. We are taught to be in the race of happiness, in the race of success. We are being taught. When a child comes first, we celebrate, we teach him. The mother teaches the child to be first in everything. And the same person, when he strives in his office to be successful, the wife says, this is ego. You are taught that happiness comes with money. You are taught that happiness comes with a high status, high post. These are wrong conditionings. Happiness never comes from money. It never comes from high position or status. I am not saying that you forget the money. I am not saying to leave the status. All I am giving you an awakening that there is no connection between happiness and money, happiness and status. I recall when I came to Trinidad, I went looking for a work, so I went by a local businessman who was Indian, of Indian origin. He had many business places. So he gave me a job, and then I told him I cannot work on a low salary because that time my wife wanted to send my daughter to India to study. So he said, if someone has to die tomorrow, he has to start preparing now. I told him, he said, if you do not have the money, you will not be happy. So he was the managing director, the one who gave me the job, but I was fearless. I said, you are wrong. Happiness does not come with money or anything. Money is the measuring rod. It certainly helps, but happiness, satiation is an attitude of the mind. Attitude is the overflowing of the bliss. It is not that if someone has to die after so many years, he has to start preparing for death by digging his grave. No. He does it through a right approach towards life, towards understanding, and understanding the intricate phenomena that life is. Maybe he would have not liked it, but I continued to work with that organization for another year. Happiness, I am not asking you to leave money. I am not asking you to leave the status or the position that you have, but only awareness is needed that happiness has nothing to do with money or status. Happiness comes to you when you take a dive deep within in the ocean of the being. Happiness comes to you only when you take a dive deep within in the ocean of the being. If you give money in the hands of the one who has taken a dive deep within, then even money, even status will give him a joy. If not, you give the money, you give the status in the hands of the one who has not experienced the bliss within, who has not taken a dive deep within, the money will become a curse for him. If the money or the status comes in the hand of the one who has taken a dive within, then even if sorrow or suffering comes, that will become the stepping stone for bliss and happiness. One who has taken a dive within, he has known the magic of life. He can remain standing aloof, alone amidst the crowd. Even if he is amidst the noise of the world, he will find music in it, he will find harmony, he will find rhythm in it. He walks through the water, but his feet water never touches his feet. He walks in the adverse circumstances, but adverse circumstances do not touch him or disturb him. I cannot say that if you are suffering, it is because of the past lives. Because all the sufferings and pain of the past life, you would have gotten it in that life alone. God does his business cash on delivery, no credit. 30-day or 60 days credit. In business, we do good trading on consignment. When the goods are sold, then you are paid. Then on terms, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days terms, or cash on delivery. God does all his business cash on delivery. He never believes in terms, in delayed payments, delayed results or anything. If you put your hand in fire today, it will burn right now. It will not happen that it will burn in the next life. If you give pain to someone or suffering to someone, you will get the pain or suffering in this life, not in the next, as has been propagated by the so-called priests. This is that whatever you are suffering is the past karmas. It is the very cunning invention, a conspiracy, a deceit of the priestly community. If you are loving today, the bliss will shower. If you are angry today, suffering will shower on you. It is said before angry, one, anger is fire. Before you get angry, the anger destroys you. Before you burn others, before you create suffering for others, you suffer. If you are giving pain and suffering to the others, you are suffering. These are not the pain and suffering of the past lives. Whatever you are doing now, whatsoever is happening in your life is the result of your doings, is the result of your understanding. Firstly, whatsoever I am saying, it may hurt you. It will not give you consolation. If you understand my word, if you understand my message clearly, you will find this is the way. This is the way to remove the suffering and pain from your life. If this is the matter of this life, there will be bliss. If bliss, if happiness is the outcome of this life, then something can be done. That is what I am saying. Now, something can be done. Your understanding can change. Your thinking can transform. Live happiness. Leave all desires to be happy. When you are seeking happiness, when you are seeking joy, you are given this understanding that happiness comes from money, from status, from husband, from wife, from children. And the real understanding is bliss does not come from outside sources. It never comes from money, status, or anything. It comes only by taking a dive within. Whatever desires you have for happiness, transform it into meditation. Whatsoever desires you have to get better, to be happy, to be blissful, to be free from sufferings, transform into an deep understanding, transform it into meditation. Remember the bliss, the happiness, the joy is within, comes to you when you take dive in the ocean of the being. Whatever time you get in your life on a day-to-day basis, take a dive deep within, just as those who have a swimming pool in their house, in their compound. Almost every day they take a swim. Every day take a swim into the ocean of the being. Meditation is the way to take a swim into the ocean of the being. Whenever you get time, day and night, whenever you get an opportunity from the work, take a dive deep within. The husband has gone to work, the children have gone to school, take a dive. Close the doors, take a dive deep within in the ocean of the being. Closing the doors of the senses, the eyes, ears, nose and throat. No thought is allowed to enter, no image is allowed to enter. Close the doors of the senses. Close the door of the senses and enter into the ocean of the being. And slowly, the inner blossoming will begin. The flowers of bliss will start happening. What had happened on Subhuti? He was sitting under the tree in meditation, and flowers started showering onto him. It was not the season of spring, yet still the flowers were showering on him. It always happens. The moment you dive deep within in the ocean of the being, the moment you dive deep within in the ocean of the being, the flowers start showering on you. And these are the flowers, once they start blossoming, once they start showering, the shower never ends. The flowers never wither away. These are the eternal flowers. Bliss is the flower of inner awakening. It never withers away with the passage of time. Once you have attained to this, you have attained to everything. I had mentioned to you in the beginning, in Sanskrit language there are two words, Ved, awakening, and Vedana means pain. As the awakening increases, pain as more and more awakening comes in, the pain or the suffering increases in the same proportion. But if you are afraid of the pain, you reduce the awakening of the pain. You have a headache, you take Aspro, Panadol or anything. It does not reduce the pain. It simply reduces the awareness of pain. It reduces the tendency to feel the pain. You feel that the pain is reduced by taking Aspro or any painkiller. Your wife has died. You think that taking alcohol, your pain will reduce. If you have become bankrupt, you resort to alcohol, you think with that the pain will get less. But this is the technique that we have known, we have learned. If you're awakening, if you're understanding, with that your understanding is related to pain, to headache. Headache simply is an indication that there is something that you have been overlooking for quite some time. And whenever there is a headache, you take a painkiller. You are reducing the awakening, that indication that headache gives you. Without this awakening, in the moments of pain and suffering, that there must be a reason behind it, this is the awakening. This is an understanding. When pain and suffering comes, there must be a reason behind it. I know it not. When autumn comes, the leaves fall. It is an indication that soon the spring will come. Then the flower of awakening will not blossom in you. How would you attain? How would you allow the 1,000-petal lotus to blossom? Never be afraid of this pain or suffering. The acceptance of pain and suffering is the only austerity. Austerity does not mean you take fasting. You do fasting. You do rituals. You go to this place or that place, holy places. The only austerity is an acceptance of pain and suffering. As the understanding increases, in the beginning the suffering will increase. Never be daunted by this. Accept this. With that, just this situation will come when the snake will come out of its skin. suffering will remain behind. Awakening comes in. But pain is the way. Acceptance of the pain, acceptance of the state of suffering is important. There is an incident comes in the life of Bhaiji Bistami. He used to pray every day. And in his prayer he said, give me the suffering every day. In happiness I may forget you. During the moments we pray, we go to the temple only when there is suffering. Kabir says, Sukh mein sumiran, dukh mein sumiran sab kare, sukh mein sumiran kare na koi. Everyone prays when there is suffering, but nobody does it when there is absence of suffering. Those who do the prayers, remembrance during the moments of happiness, sorrow and suffering never touches them. If there is suffering, suffering brings awakening. In the moments of happiness, you fall asleep. Nothing in life is without a reason. Certainly no rhythm. Is useless in life. It is up to you. You bring the diverse music into one harmony. You put all these discordant sounds, discordant elements into a beautiful song. Pain is meaningful. It wakes you up. The day you have seen, you have realized that pain awakens you, you will not be. Pain and suffering awakens you. It gives you the understanding that the spring is not far off. The day you realize that flower and thorns remain together, the flowers are meaningless without thorns. Thorns are not against flowers. They are simply to protect it. Suffering is like thorns. They are to protect you, to give you awareness. This awareness of pain is important. This and the bliss remains together. Only this much for this morning. Until then, take care and do have a pleasant day.